Onye Malu Echi, alive in full. The story of Sir William Ameche Nwolu Obianwu. Finally, it was a big relief in Onitsha on the 18th of June 1933 when a couple who had lost two sets of male twins had a baby boy. Wow! A survivor emerged. It was William Ameche Nwolu, who was born to Charles Namwa Obianwu of the Noruba Ede family of the Umuogbaba clan of Umuasele quarters of Onitsha, and his second wife, Lucy Arogano Obianwu. Why christened him Ameche, a name asking for the answer to a question of who knows tomorrow? No one could have blamed the apprehensive parents who could not tell if their latest bundle of joy would not turn sorrow like the earlier sets of twins. Thank God, the bundle of joy came to stay. It is good to mention that, though he was the first surviving child of his father and mother, he had older step-siblings, the children of his father's first wife, Ibobo. Ibobo was from Abo, today's Delta State. There were Victoria, Sunday, and Chike. For his mother, Lucy, William Ameche's birth seemed to shut the door to her children's death and open the gate to other surviving children. Hence, the birth of Louis and Amanna. Sadly, William Ameche's dad died while his mother was pregnant with a baby girl who was named Amanna, the name that meant the one that did not know her father. William was just 4 then. In 1942, the young William relocated to live with his father's half-brother, the late Reverend Stephen Chukwuma Maje, who was a church teacher with Church Missionary Society. They sojourned with him in his missionary journeys across eastern Nigeria until when he obtained his first leaving certificate from St. Philip's Central Primary School, Akpakaogwe, Ogidi. Due to paucity of fund, he couldn't commence his secondary education until 1951. In 1954, he graduated from Etukoku School of Commerce, Onitsha, with a senior school certificate of the Royal Society of Arts, London, with distinction in bookkeeping and accounts. William was an agile, fit, promising, and handsome young man with a commendable sense of style. He would have caught the fancy of many ladies. However, his eye was set on Evelyn Okuchi-Nwanwa, the daughter of Joel J.K. and Cecilia Nwanwa, later Awaraka of Izombe, Oguta.
Why didn't you come to the church? I said, I'm not well. And he said, I just come. Somebody says he should greet me. I said, who is the person? I said, now I was doing this. I was just looking for my mother. Once see somebody coming to say, I was afraid. Who is the person? I don't know the person. Anyway, tell the person I have greeted him too. That was how the thing started. So one day I came back home because he was so fast. Many people were coming because I did to my school. I did my school pride because I'm an athlete. No any athlete I won't win. I made my school pride. So because of that, students were coming even from London and so forth. They want my picture, they want this. But he was the person who was very bold. Before I can come back, he has already come to my mother and parents. They said they have come. They saw something, and so I didn't know him because it was in the night. So when I came back, my mother said, somebody came, there are people who came here, they say, they have saying something here they want to. That is how my mother saw him first, because my father is in Calabar. So because of her business, my father traveled to Calabar and there. So my father, after I said and done, my father gave the sanction. That is how we started. I sold it until the marriage come up. That is how we started our marriage by year 1958, 27 November, which is 62 and a half years to me.
Show the 27th of December 1958, William got married to Evelyn Okuchi at St. Stephen Anglican Church in Sabongari, Kano, northern Nigeria. They were blessed with a daughter, Roslyn Neka Chinedum, in 1959. Their quiver became fuller with 5 other children: Ifenyinwa Christiana Eyuche, Victor Nwora Chukwuemeka, Kingsley Ikechukwu Nwabufo, Juliet Nwamaka Chinelo, and Chike Louis Olisailoka. William had an impressive career. Starting out from the northern part of Nigeria, he was transferred to the service of the government of the eastern region of Nigeria. His posting was at the office of the Premier of the Eastern Region in Enugu. This took place on the 1st of December 1961 after the independence, and in 1962 he was transferred to Udi Divisional Office and subsequently to Abak, Degemma, back to Enugu to the Institute of Administration, now Institute of Management and Technology. His return to Enugu took him from the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning to the Census Board, the State Education Commission, the Rural Electrification Board, the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, and the Board of Internal Revenue. In 1964, he obtained the Associate Certificate of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of England and the Associate Certificate of the Certified Corporation of Secretaries with Distinction in Accountancy. Upon the creation of Anambra State in 1991, he was transferred to the office of the Secretary to the state government. He also worked in the office of the Governor as Deputy Director, Finance and Supplies. In 1994, he retired from the civil service as a Deputy Director. When Sir William Obianwu had the privilege of helping people, he did not hold back. However, he detested and turned back gestures of those he helped wanting to pay him back. He believed God was his rewarder.
Growing up, he helped a lot of people get jobs and stuff. I remember one day we were at home and then some people came and then they were looking for my daddy. Daddy wasn't home. They had a lot of gifts, wine, stuff to give to dad because he got them a job. And daddy wasn't home. I got that and then put up. That was the last day I knew never to do that because he was so mad. It's like when you do stuff for people, you don't look forward to any reward. I mean, you do it willingly. The only person that's going to reward you is God. So daddy was like, if you know how you took those things from those, you need to take them back. That was my dad.
In many situations, you saw people who came to the house to say thank you after my father had done them a favor in connection with his work. And one distinct memory of my father back then is that they will come and he will kick them out of the house. They will come with all sorts of gifts and he will kick them out of the house.
He was an upright man. This disposition of his almost got one of his children into trouble. If you ever thought that after his retirement from civil service, he was tired, you were making a mistake. Papa William Obianwu was very active After his impressive public service career, he devoted a lot more of his time to the family, the service of the church, and many voluntary associations.
He is just a man of integrity. He doesn't want anything bend. That is how I knew him.
We really miss him about everything and his calm nature, such a peaceful man.
I grew up with him. He's like my second dad. So he's a very principled man and very intelligent man.
I'm really grateful that I get to spend my childhood with Dad.
My grandfather was a lovely and caring man, very funny.
Between 1955, when he had his first encounter with the Anglican Youth Fellowship at Holy Trinity Anglican Church, Sokoto, and the time of his death in 2021, he served in numerous positions within the organization. He was the National Financial Secretary 1996 to 2000, National Treasurer 2000 to 2004, National Secretary of the Young Men Christian Association YMCA for many years. Until his death, he sat on the Diocesan Educational Board of the Anglican Diocese of Enugu. Also, he acted in different advisory roles to the Archbishop and the diocese, and he was an honorary auditor of the various educational institutions owned by the diocese.
Sir Obianwu is a very firm person. He pursues what he believes in and he gets it to a conclusion.
He likes to do things of God. He likes to help people in need. He stands by his word.
Sir William Obianwu was a knight of the Good Shepherd. The knight has this to say about him.
Sir Willie Obianwu played a major role in the night, and because as an accountant, he's always a straightforward person, somebody that demands accountability all the time. Some people might look at him as a stubborn man, but he's a man of order, a disciplined person.
When he joined the knighthood, he was active. Many people, after when they get to his age, they fall back, they don't show up again. But he continued showing up. And then in this church too, he continues to come to this church.
Sir William Obianwu's singing talent was a force to reckon with. As a tenor singer, he stood out. Probably, this accounts for Rosalind, his daughter, singing prowess.
My father was a good singer. I wouldn't really say, oh, well, it could be. I inherited it, I don't know. But I knew my father was a singer. And I too sing. And I love singing. It's part of me. In his time, Lord Jesus, in your time, you do all things beautiful in your time. Lord, please show me every day as you're teaching me your way, that I do what you do in your time.
As an accomplished accountant, his penchant for paying attention to details and keeping records was commendable. He knew how to keep important documents. Probably his son, Chike Olisailoka, took this straight after him.
I probe in a manner that is consistent with how my father probed. I pursue accountability in a manner that my father did. I am outspoken in a way that annoys a lot of people, but is reminiscent of that my father that has said knew how to write petitions. I don't write petitions, but I guess there are things I do that are sort of in character with my father.
In some homes, the head of the family never admits his vulnerability. This was not the case with Sir William Obianwu, as he made amendment to the supposed allegation of showing favoritism for his first child, Rosalind, above others.
My dad loving me is an understatement. I was an only child for about 5 years and 3 months.
I remember when I was round about 5 or 6. There were 6 of us. My father had 6 kids. And my older sister would have told you that she was an only child for over 5 years. And so growing up, my father would come home and he would say, "Rosie girl, Rosie girl." And he was referring to his favorite first child. And the rest of us were almost non-existent. Or so it seemed. And so one day, my sister who just walked away, my immediate older sister, Chinelo, he walks in and he says, Rosie girl, Rosie girl. And Chinelo looks at my dad and said, "Daddy, why is it that anytime you come home, you call out Rosie girl, Rosie girl? Is she the only one in this house?" The house went quiet. Now, I was 5 or 6, and Chinelo would have been 8 or 9 because she's 3 years and a bit older than me. And my father looked, and then what followed was quiet. But then, true to my father's character of listening, even though he was being challenged by an 8 or 9-year-old daughter of his, from that point on, it wasn't too long before every last one of us, the other 5 of us, each got a nickname. And the practice of coming home and saying Rosie girl, stopped.
When his granddaughter, Chineze, demanded that Grandpa should always dress up even at home, Pa Willie obliged and made adjustment, yielding to the little girl's requests.
He was such a man that it didn't matter if he were as young as my daughter, who's now 8, who at the time she spoke about my father walking around the house bare-chested being a problem. My daughter would probably have been maybe 3 years old, 4 years old. But it stuck with my father so much that he made sure my daughter never saw him again bare-chested walking around the house.
You know, his interaction with Chineze shows how considerate he was and how, you know, no matter how small you are, no matter how young you are, if you tell him anything, he listens and he takes it seriously. So there was a time he was in our house in Lagos, and I was just in the sitting room. They had brought out his food. I think it was his dinner to eat. And he came out and he was just wearing his trouser without a shirt. And he was about to sit down. Then all of a sudden he just kind of like jumped up. I said, "Oh," before Chineze will come out and say something. So he went inside, put on a shirt and came back outside. And then he now told me that Chineze had told him that he should not be sitting outside without a shirt. And you know, that really touched me because that's really very considerate, because Chineze was around maybe 3, 4 at that time, and to just take her word so seriously for him to like go back and change.
Pa Obianwu was a good father who was protective of his own, like mother hen.
I remember when I was pregnant, my first issue, we came all the way from Owerri to go to Anambra. That's what we normally do, going to Onye to buy things at the end of the month, maybe 2 times or once in 2 months. So that fateful day, by then he was still working at the government house, Oka. As we're going back to, I think, okay, from there we're going back to Enugu to visit them. So on our way from Owerri to Anambra, the police people held us. They were demanding for original paper of our vehicle. And I told them I've never heard of that before. And that was on Friday. You know the way they behave and all sorts of things. So they wanted to take us to their station. So what I did was to call my father. Immediately my dad had to send somebody straight to that place. And with a written note, when my father writes anything, you cannot disown what he writes. You must surely honor whatever he has written. So my dad just put on something with his signature and stamp, brought it to that place that we're staying, that police station. Immediately, they went and called their boss and whatever. And when they saw that thing, they said, please allow them to go.
I can remember back 4 or 5 years ago, there was a personal guy that was coming, like, told the guy, hey boy, my granddaughter is not for play. Like, it's real. And he's very open, you know, like telling the guy, you don't play with other girls, don't play with this one. Because I don't gonna mess up with you if anything happens. You know, that makes me feel confident about myself, that even if anything happens, I have a father. And I call him my sweetheart. A grandfather is more than a father.
Sir Willie commended the good he noticed in people.
And there was a time he was in the house too, and I would go to work. So I wear a wig, and you know, when I come back from work, he would be like, oh, my wife, you look so beautiful and everything. And so throughout that period, unlike, you know, what I'll typically do, come back from work, yank off my wig to get comfortable and everything. I'll come back from work, I'll leave my makeup on. So unlike what I'll typically do, come back from work, yank off my wig, get comfortable and everything. Throughout this period, I'll come back from work, I'll leave my wig on, I'll leave my makeup on, because I just want him to see me as that his beautiful wife that he's always talking about.
He was a good family man who embraced and bonded with his own. He and his wife took it upon themselves to travel far and near to visit their children residing and doing well home and abroad. Who would object that a good man like Sir William Obianwu should not live up to 120 years? Little wonder, when his time of transition came, it was devastating.
June of this year, precisely, I came back with my kids. My wife is not here with me, my kids are not here. We came back from Texas to come and spend time with him. And my first son actually was the only one who have seen him before. Yes, my first son was only one who has seen him, my first son Chikaima. The other three had not met my father, who is their grandfather. So we all came back June to spend time with him, and I'm glad we did. Exactly about 1 month after we left back to our base, we got the news that my father has passed. And it really was so devastating.
On my birthday, when they called me and said daddy wasn't gonna eat, I was so disturbed. That was on my birthday. I said, God, please don't take my daddy that day. But I still want to see him. I still wish he would talk to me, but
I really miss him. I do.
I'm still so grateful that he was 88 years when he died. I know most people didn't have the kind of opportunity that we had. He never was lacking. I mean, I think he was ready.
In June, when he turned 88, we all got together to wish him a happy birthday. Looking back now, it was also goodbye. So I'll miss him so much.
Now, everyone has to live with the reality that Sir William Obianwu is no more. And surely, he deserved a befitting burial. Let's take a journey to his residence at house number 8, Winners Estate, Tran Ekulu, Phase 6 Extension, Enugu, for the service of songs which took place on Thursday, 14th of October 2021. First was the Knights-led service by the Knights of Good Shepherd, and the second service by the St. Luke's Church, Ogui, Enugu, still at his residence, Winners Estates.
What we are saying is that Sir Willie is such a man that is firm. I'm just a woman. Help me believe in what I could be. I know that I am. Show me the stairway, Lord. I have to climb, Lord, for my sake. Teach me to take one day at a time. Abunke Chukwu, Abunke Chukwu, Abunke Onye kere ụwa bịa n'ụwa ahụ ọnwụ. Onye na-eri adịrị onwe gị,
Onye kwa kinye wora ka n'uche gị.
On Saturday, 16th of October 2021, the body was brought to St. Luke's Church, Ogui, Enugu, for commendation service. Ministering at the commendation service was the Archbishop of Enugu Province, the Most Reverend Dr. E.O. Chukwuma OON. Thereafter, the body departed and set for Onitsha. The Onitsha house, situated at number 3 Obianwu Street, is a multi-story, multi-rooms, palatial residence. The tastefully furnished abode was where many guests were received and the venue of lying in state. The event witnessed a service where women choirs, traditional and church had renditions. The knights also handed a sword over to the son. From the venue of lying in state, his body was moved to Emmanuel Church, inland town, Onitsha, for funeral service. Guests from far and near graced the occasion. After the service, the body left for the final resting place. The guests were treated to a grand and lavish reception at Obi Okosi Memorial Primary School, Okosi Road, Onitsha, and the families of the sons-in-law were there to present their gifts for the burial rites. They brought ropes signifying cow they had monetized, fabrics, and drinks. It was indeed a befitting burial. And now that Papa has gone, what would the family want as his legacy?
My father was peace-loving.
What my father told me when I came back to see him in June was that make sure you and your siblings live in peace. He's a very peaceful man, and I promise him we will all live in peace.
I know my father wants me to carry them along as a chain, and I know God will help me.
I want the legacy to be that we always be as a family, we still have to keep the peace, the love, and the unity.
I know also that my father will be happy for us to take care of our mother.
We want the family to continue to be what they are, that nothing of anything will separate us. They will continue in the manner they have been, looking after us. And we pray that so their children will look after them. Eziokwu anyị na-ekene Chineke maka ọlụ Chineke lụrụ na ezinụlọ anyị, maka ụmụaka anyị ndị na-afụ maka anyị, Malu na nne na nna mụlụfa na fa ga-elekọta fa. And etu aka anyị na-ayọkwa ka Chineke mee ebere tinye ha n'obi na ụmụ ha nke ha mụrụ ga-eletakwa ha etu a ga-eleta anyị. Anyị na-ekene Chineke maka ha, and Chineke ga-agọzi ha, ọ ga-arapụ ha. They will never suffer. God will be with them throughout. And as they have done to us, so God will do to them.
Onye Malu Echi, alive in full.